Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here. This is the Astrological Wings channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for the week of May 27th through June 2nd, and also the month of June. And actually, the biggest event in June is right at the end of this week on the 2nd. So they coincide really well. So that's what I'm going to take a look at today. And the week has some Mercury action, a couple of conjunctions. We're going to see too. So just a little business first. The Astrological Wings channel is a free video blog on YouTube. It's a YouTube channel. And if you like what you're seeing and you have a YouTube account, please become a follower. And remember to turn your notifications on too. If you do that, if you become a follower, and it'll let you know when the blog is posted every week. Otherwise, it does not actually let you know. So you got to do that. Remember also, the blog is available on podcast form. And last week I had a little trouble getting it up on the podcast the first couple of days. I think it's the sunspots and had a lot of solar activity the last week or two. I was having a lot of trouble getting it up there, but it is on podcasts, including last week's. And just look it up on your favorite podcasts. Look up Astrological Wings channel. I know it's on Apple iPodcasts. There's other ones that pick it up too. And that gives you the freedom to listen to it without seeing a video, which is usually just me talking to the camera anyway, and gives you the ability to listen to it maybe at other times when you're not in front of your computer or a video screen. I also do post the link on Instagram, and I have an Astrological Wings channel page on Instagram too, that it sometimes adds stuff during the week too, just in comment form. So that's worth checking out too, if you want to get a little more detail, and it'll show up on your newsreel every week. So just, become a follower, Astrological Wings channel, if you have an Instagram account. I also do put it on my private Facebook account. That's under my name, Matthew with two T's, Lawton, Lauten, and it shows up in your newsreel every week, so that way you can find the link. You got to private friend me there, and I got to approve you before that happens. And the best way to find it, if you're not doing the YouTube thing, is on my website, and that's www.astrologicalwins, all one word.com. Not channel, just astrologicalwins.com. And that I always have the blogs embedded there on the blog page, and you can go back and check out past blogs too if you missed the month before or something. And also, I have a calendar page there and some other stuff. It also shows you the best way you can support me. I'm a professional astrologer. I've been one for over 20 years. Been trained for 7 years before that to do it professionally. And when you're ready to have your chart done, or when you know someone else, or you want to have some astrological work, or you need a personal astrologer to help you along, each month or every week or whatever, all those services are available. And you can check out the website. If you have a group looking for some group stuff like lectures, classes, things like that, I also have menu up for that too. And so you can check all that stuff out on the website. And if you do want to give a currency donation to the blog, that's always welcome. No amount is too small. And my Venmo handle is at the symbol at A with the circle, Matthew, once again with two T's, hyphen Lawton, Lauten. Thanks so much for your support. And the best way you can support the free blog is to remember to pass it on to somebody else, the link, when you're done. Even if you've done it before and you can think of someone else that might want to check it out, please pass it on and get a lot of great responses. Thank you so much for that. All right, let's get into this week. I wanted to talk about Jupiter and Gemini a little bit more too, but the two big events of the month for June are both involving Jupiter. So let's do the week first. And there's a lot of Mercury action this week, but there's also a Mars conjunct Chiron. So some interesting stuff to talk about this week. Starts today, Monday. We have a Mercury sextiling Saturn. And, even though it's Memorial Day in the US and it's a holiday, this is actually a really good aspect for working, especially on details. We have a really patient attitude, and we can see details really well. And therefore, we can see where we can make things better. We can streamline things and make them more on point. We can edit things and, once again, make things more on point, get out, cut through the stuff that's not necessary, the fluff, correct mistakes or flaws that we have. So we have a very practical, methodical mind when Mercury is sextile Saturn, and our communications, which is also about Mercury, are based on practical things. So most of our communication today is not emotionally based. It's wanting to connect with others on things that are important in our real world. And therefore, it's really good for business, actually, communications, opportunities that you see in business that you're trying to foster or give to others. And, it's a good time to do that. And really good for any kind of like paperwork, computer type work, working with the mind on detailed practical things. But it gives us a really good attitude about things. It's another way to say it too is we have constructive criticism going on, so we don't take it hard, and we can take that in from the outside or from the inside, and that helps us. It helps us learn and adjust to those things, and we don't take it very hard with the Mercury Saturn sextile. We're like, no, this is, we're trying to make this better. We have a good attitude about that. It's also a really good time to get help from people who have more experience than you, or more knowledge, or more wisdom in what you're trying to do, in the work that you're trying to do. So, and also, you can use a lot of tools to help you do that stuff too, and computers, things like that. So really good day, even though it is a holiday. Like I said, a really good day for work. Now, one of the big things of this week is Mars is conjuncting Chiron. Remember, Mars is in Aries now, the sign that it rules. And it's going, Chiron's been in Aries now for several years and will continue to be so. And at the same time that Mars is conjuncting Chiron this week, it's actually squaring the main asteroid in the asteroid belt Ceres. So that is going to give us a lot of flavor too to this Mars Chiron conjunction. And when Mars and Chiron conjunct, it gives us a lot of motivation to want to overcome the issues or problems that are hurting us in this life and at this time. And really right now, when you think about the square to Ceres, what that I think is mainly going to be about is making sure that we're actually feeling like we're getting taken care of, that we're getting the things we need, the things that help us to live, to survive. And, so so there may be stresses on our resources, is what I'm saying, the things that we need, not the things that we want, the things that we need to survive, just basically getting our basic nurturing and needs met. And that may be the source of the pain that we're feeling from the wounding of Chiron. And so that will motivate, with Mars there, that will motivate us to want to take action on it. And I think one of the good things about this, with this one, is we'll see some of our own weak spots, I think, during this situation in relation to the way we're dealing with resources. And then we can kind of do a little bit of a reset and have a new approach to those things. And that will motivate us. That will excite us. That will get us into that mindset of I want to take this on. I see some new ways of dealing with these things, and I think that that can help me out. So, it's almost like we can see the source of some of our wounding, and therefore we can, work with that energy to change that energy and try to get away from it being self-destructive things that we're doing to ourselves. Now, one of the things that's kind of interesting with this, though, is that other people who also have issues with us may come out and seek us out to dump on us about those things. And it can feel really, really painful when that is going on. And, and one of the things we have to accept under a Mars conjunct Chiron is that it is not possible to get along with everyone. and that we have to accept that we're going to have people that we, basically we can, you can consider them enemies, but they're at cross purposes to where you're trying to go, to your objectives, to where you want to go. And so, you know, it's like having to accept that, yeah, we're just not going to be able to always have these, agreements with where we're trying to go with other people, and that they, may actually be trying to hurt us in some way, and that they can actually wound us in some of the things that we do. And we just have to, learn to accept that and move forward from that and try to find ourselves in a new position of strength, even just by learning to accept that. It's a conjunction here. So that's a new beginning, and so we can take the awareness of the things that we see that hurt us and use that motivation to move forward and try to find new routes that will help us. And once again, with Mars, especially in Aries, this is all about our own path, the one that we need to take for our own healing, for our own ability to be okay with the wounds that we've experienced and be able to move forward with them. And no, they may not go completely away, but like when we have new methods of dealing with them, we can find ways that we can move towards healing or bandaging them up. So very interesting energy. I just think, once again, like I've said before, with Chiron and Aries the last few years, a lot of self-responsibility these years in our own healing journey, and this Mars one is like, where are your own actions hurting you? Where have they hurt you? You can see this. Where have other people's actions and their cross purposes hurt you? And you can see this now and accept those realities, and then come up with a new plan to motivate and move forward with. So, a seeding time on that level. Now, on Thursday, we get another conjunction and we come back to Mercury again. Mercury is going to conjunct Uranus. So Mercury represents what I call the lower mind, or the intellect, and the higher mind. But Uranus is the higher mind, the intuition. So Mercury and Uranus have a lot to do with mental or intellectual energy. It's just the different octaves of that. One of them is like lower octave Mercury, dealing with like the stuff in the everyday world, and the Uranus comes from outside us and gives us a lot of insight and perception in a much more complete package. It's almost like Mercury is like the left brain and Uranus is like the right brain. So this brings the two of them together. It's a conjunction. It brings the intellect and the intuition together, so they're functioning together as a unit. And usually what that means is we are being super stimulated by new ideas that we've been exposed to, either through others, through some kind of information that we've gotten, all kinds of input. Like new input really excites us right now, really stimulates us. And then what it does, as we take it in, it fires up our own creative intuition, imagination, and intellect. So what starts to come out of that is we start to get very ingenious ideas for where we're at in our world, and see like some really new solutions to things, get some deep insights into the way things work, very highly perceptive. So there's a lot of ingenuity. There's a lot of ideas going through us. And a lot of them may not stick. They may be a little bit too like beyond where this can be, but there's some very, very good ones in there too. And that's the ones we want to, work with in this world and up our game, basically. This is very, very electrical energy. And really, at times, it can be so stimulating that it can work us up into almost like a nervous frenzy too. So like we can be a little bit sloppy with our details and stuff, but our intuition is really showing us places, that giving us some clarity on how things work, and new insights and perceptions, so that we can take that stuff and add it into our own creativity and bring it to a new place. Now, it's interesting. This is not the best time really to make a decision yet, because it's an input time. It's an input time. So we're still taking in a lot more information, and that would be the best thing to do. We just have to remember, if it gets to be too much, or if we're latching on to things that aren't the important parts of it, we can really, spin ourselves out, get ourselves worked up into a frenzy, and then end up not really getting a lot out of it. It kind of becomes more shallow, and a lot of things don't really stick. So you better really tune in to what you feel is the important intuitive downloads that you're getting during this, and just take that information in and begin to integrate it and begin to shape it into something that's personally creative for you on an intellectual level. So the last aspect that Mercury makes this week is on Sunday, when it sextiles Neptune. And that's actually once again, a really nice Sunday vibe kind of aspect. It gives us a very sensitive mind to the environment and to others, and we can really tune in to that energy. It's very, once again, it's very right brain. It's very imaginative. It's very inspirational. This is a great day to work with words in a creative way. If you're a creative writer or a storyteller, a poet, musician, those kind of things, this is a great day to take opportunities of what is stimulating you, it's inspiring you in your imagination, and getting some output out of that. This is also a time, it's a Sunday, where it's a really good time to take in like whatever your interest is on the spiritual level, on a mystical level, on a religious level, to kind of go follow that path. Maybe do some study, maybe some contemplation, meditation, do some learning in those areas. So a very sensitive mind really enjoys like beautiful environments, and and wants to be around like people that are like in that art zone, kind of like in that creative zone, in that spiritual zone, is what's really important to us in this. So I want to go back to Jupiter. So just yesterday or the day before, Jupiter went into Gemini a couple days ago, and I mentioned it last week, and I mentioned it in the monthly too. And the month of June has only two aspects from outer planets to other outer planets that I want to talk about. One of them is Jupiter trining Pluto, which is actually going to be this Sunday. And that's actually the biggest aspect of the month. We also have at the end of the month, Jupiter is going to semi-square Chiron. So let's just go back to Jupiter in Gemini for a minute or two first. And, I talked about it already, that it's not the best place for Jupiter to be. And the reason being is the focus is very much on the intellect. And Jupiter is much more focused on spiritual and in emotional drive. So there's a little bit of a disconnect there. And traditionally, Jupiter in Gemini is in detriment. It's literally not considered a strong point to be. And I think what you want to, the reason behind that is we're so stimulated in the mind that we think we're so freaking smart. Seriously. That we think we have the answer to everything in the mind, in the intellect. And what we're going to find out is we're kind of outsmarting ourselves. And we may not be as clever as we think we are, That's what the lesson of a lot that happens with Jupiter in Gemini is, like, all this information we have, all this new technology, communication stuff, new traveling things, they all look great on the outside. They're promising a lot, but they're also promising too much. When Jupiter's in Gemini, we're going to find out where the limits are in our transportation systems, in our communication systems, in our information systems. We're going to find out that maybe we're biting off too much on a superficial level and not integrating it well enough, not connecting to the emotional and spiritual side. Maybe there's even questionable ethics and values that we're having because we think we're so smart. We think we're so clever. And we can just outsmart ourselves and find out that a lot of the things that we think, we've got down, we've actually not looked at the details of, maybe overcommitted, don't have the resources or the ability to do those things. So when you think about the communication and technology and travel and all that, you can see that going on in the world a lot right now, where all those systems are promising us a lot, promising us a bright future, and yet there's not a lot of emotional or spiritual reflection going on what that actually means to all of us, and then it's all of a sudden we're finding out, oh, we maybe the computer isn't working, or maybe the plane isn't on time, or maybe the information I got is full of disinformation, right? And that we haven't checked out where that is, where the depth of that is. What is the meaning of it? Where is all that, like I said last week, what is the value of this information actually? What is the true value of it? So we might, like I said, we might find out that, we may not be as smart as we think we are, both individually and socially, and with our technology in particular. The problem with Jupiter in Gemini too is like, when you're so focused on the intellect, where is your spiritual compass? Where's your emotional compass? Because that stuff is looked at almost as a hindrance by the intellect. It's something that, the lesson here is like the limitation of the intellect, actually, the limitations of it. And, and if we don't learn that, what those limitations are, it can be to the detriment of all of us, even in society, if a communication system goes down, and, because of, say, a sunspot or something, we're going to find out all of a sudden, well, maybe we didn't have it as down as we did. Same with anything with transportation or education. Now, like I told you, the last couple of times I've talked about Jupiter Gemini, it is a good time to take in more, to study more, but with the idea that you're adjusting on the fly your attitudes and your values based on what you may have had wrong before that, and that this new information is showing you something new. So we have to have not think that we have all the answers, which Jupiter and Gemini can make us think that we're, that clever. And, it can be very insensitive at times and tactless because of that, because it's not connecting on that level emotionally to others. The other thing with Jupiter and Gemini too is we can have trouble with family, connecting with our family, like trying to communicate. It's almost like we're, not able to do that very well a lot of times. It's an inability to stay objective with them. But that's one of the gifts that Jupiter and Gemini can give us with other people and with information, is having a sense of detachment and not getting so wrapped up in it that we get obsessed with stuff. So, so we can use that as one of the gifts of Jupiter and Gemini, and with a lot of these ideas, and be like, these are great ideas, but remain objective, remain detached, and check in with the ethic and moral and emotional and spiritual compasses. Because, like, that's a very trickster energy that Gemini has, and it doesn't vibe well with Jupiter normally. Now, Sunday is the biggest event of the month of June, and there's Jupiter trining Pluto. And so it's a trine. And what did Jupiter and Pluto have in common is power. Okay, power and authority. And so we got a trine going, which means that we should find ourselves in a position where places where we have power, it's flowing to us. It's creating opportunities for us to wield and use that power. And when Jupiter is trine Pluto, people are using it usually in a very positive way. They're trying to make changes. Now, Jupiter's a social planet. Pluto is a transformational, transcendental planet, right? And they are trying to bring society to new places together. Okay, they're trying to transform society's values, its philosophies, things, and showing us that we can do this when we have power in the areas that we have. So we have to be, this gives a lot of ambition. And because we can be on top of our power game, we can get a lot of benefit out of this. We can have a lot of successes and gains, finances, all kinds of things that can go well. But what we really want to do is spread that out. When we have power, we have influence. When it's a trine, it's spreading out really harmoniously. This is an opportunity for us to use that power that we have for the benefit of anyone that we can influence, anyone that we have some kind of authority over in our lives, and bring them benefit too, bring them transformation too, bring them change that is good too. So this really, is really like a great, great time to use that energy to make the transformations in the world. And so that's why we're seeing a lot of social movements right now too, where people are really rallying around the things that they believe in and using their power to, push that stuff out. And it's all about wanting to make reformations. It's all about wanting to make improvements. It's all about wanting to regenerating things, to renew things, to be able to take what that and influence others and get to places where we would like, where we're feeling good, where our ambitions are being met, where we're feeling we have influence over what's going on, and that what we're doing is benefiting not only ourselves, but those around us and society in general. So a very strong energy. Now remember, they're both, it's a air trine. So once again, we don't want to get too caught up in that cleverness thing. It's like and thinking we're so smart. We want to take in and adjust and transform what we're doing in relation to what's going on in society and where we're feeling we have a place to take an active role in that. Now, at the end of the month, on the 26th of June, Jupiter is going to semi-square Chiron. And this is interesting because it shows that, here we are talking about all this Jupiter in Gemini and, things we can do with the Pluto. And then we run into a Chiron square, which shows that we could be very frustrated at the end of the month in our belief systems, feeling like they're being blocked and they're not being able to move forward right now. So that can be a very frustrating feeling where we feel like our efforts are falling short to what we're trying to do, and we may have to let certain things go and realize, the timing just isn't right now. That we have to wait and allow it to ripen to another time. But it can feel painful to us. It can be painful to our value systems, painful to our philosophy about life, where we're feeling like we're being stuck and we really can't move forward. And it may have a lot to do with where, once again, Jupiter being a societal planet, where society is at right now. And it's somehow hitting a wound that we have because we just cannot get our values or belief systems integrated well into society yet. So it's one of these things where we're going to have to wait it out and just let situations develop more before we can do that. So, all right, well, that's what I got for this week. And really June, which doesn't have a real lot of movement as far as the outer planets go. And then, of course, each week I'll be looking in June to what's going on with the inner planets. But really, as far as this week goes, that Mars Chiron is something to be, very much we work with, trying to find new ways of doing things and getting out of, destructive old patterns. And the Mercury Uranus can help us with that by giving us new ideas, new insights into how to do that. So I think those two can really work really well together. And remember, a lot of this may have to do with resource, just like old ways of doing resource, not being productive as much anymore, not being fertile enough, not meeting our needs. And so we have to readjust, and we may have to, like I said, figure out who we can and who we can't work with in relation to that, and what ideas are good and what ideas are not good in relation to that. And then, like I said, once that Jupiter and trine kicks in, which is already, it's already in aspect, it's already in orb right now. But this whole month is just a time where we can use the power that we have to change not only our own life, but to help change society, help change anyone that we have influence over, and bring benefit to all of us together. And that's how that would work best. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. Next week, we have a new moon in Gemini, and that's at 17 degrees. So we're going to be talking about that a lot next week. The Astrological Winds channel is a free service that I give. It's a free video blog on YouTube. So if you have a YouTube account, please become a follower. Please pass the link on to somebody else too. That's how I get the blog to grow in a very organic fashion. I'm probably going to start doing some new things pretty soon with the blog too, and some new other things too that I'll let you guys know in the next couple weeks or so. Remember, the blog is embedded on my website, so you can find it there too if you don't have YouTube. www.astrologicalwinds.com. Just go to the blog page, hit the link, it'll bring you right over to YouTube. But if you do have YouTube, please become a follower. Please pass it on to somebody else. Remember, it's also available on podcasts, on Instagram, so you can find it all that way. And remember, best way to support me is if you need a reading or know someone else that does. I offer all kinds of readings. Please check out the website. Open up a dialogue with me. I'll work with you. And there's going to be some new services being put up on there soon for people who want to get into it even deeper. All right, you guys, that's what I got for this week. I'll see y'all next week, and we'll look at that new moon in Gemini. And this week, let's just, use that information that we have, adjust our paths, adjust our motivations, make some transformation around us, and bring it out to the other people around us that we have influence on. I'll see y'all next week.